come out the right way. I think most of the justices appreciate how absurd this is.
Okay, Jonathan Turley, professor of law. Hello, sir, to you. So Barr is given he's given the Supremes a bit of a nudge here. Is it time for them to decide this?
Well, Bill Barr is one of the best lawyers I've ever known, and there are certainly strong arguments for the administration to make here. I think that we have to be honest that there are good faith arguments on both sides. This is a controversial law being used in a new way, and there are legitimate questions as to the meaning of some of these terms and how much of it is actually reviewable. That's going to have to be resolved by the Supreme Court, not by lower court judges. And people need to trust our system here. We have the greatest legal system on earth, and it will work through these problems, and I think it's going to work through them pretty quickly.
Okay, so good faith argument. Let me come back to that. Let me just refresh viewers with what's been happening here. Number of injunctions at the lower court level: Biden 14, Obama 12, Bush 6, Trump administration 1.0, 64. I think we found another the other day in the 20th century. There was like a dozen, and now we're already at 15 in about 64 days. So you mentioned that about Barr a moment ago, about the good faith argument. Roll soundbite number 3 to continue this question here. Watch.
These district court judges are trying to usurp the responsibility of the president in the national security area. And what's happening here is they're trying to reduce all decisions to these trial-like hearings, which essentially gives the judge the power to overrule and second-guess the executive.
So the way we frame that question, where there's 650 district court judges across the country, and what Barr says, like a judge in the same court down the hall could disagree with him. That does not give the original judge the authority to go over the executive power. How do you view that?
No, I think there's a legitimate complaint here. It's like having a car where every passenger is grabbing the emergency brake. It's pretty hard to drive that car. And, you know, what you have here are judges that are imposing national injunctions, which the Supreme Court, including liberals like Justice Kagan, have objected to. She said this is madness, that you have all of these trial judges who are imposing national injunctions. Congress is looking at legislation to curtail the ability of lower court judges to do precisely that. So I think there's merit to that. I think that the Trump administration is likely to win. I also think the Trump administration is likely to prevail in most of these cases. I think that federal judges have overextended themselves. I think they have intruded into areas of Article 2 or presidential authority.
Okay, so then under that scenario, either every deportee gets a team of lawyers to fight their case, or the Supreme Court comes in and says, you are not entitled to due process because you're not a U.S. citizen. Does it come down to a simple argument such as that, A or B, Professor?
It does. The Supreme Court has previously said that there are due process rights that adhere to even non-citizens within the country. So there are cases that support giving some type of hearing. The question is, how much of a hearing? What do you need to have in order to deport individuals? The administration would like to use this law to sort of circumvent or short-circuit at least that process. That's a novel use of the law, so the court's going to have to look at that. But there are previous cases by the Supreme Court that have said that there are due process rights for detainees and others in U.S. custody.
Okay, if that's the case, then the leader of that MS-13 gang that was arrested just a few hours ago in Virginia will be entitled to that. So we await the decision. Nice to see you, Jonathan.